Okay, so let's welcome Tom Campbell to Hawaii. First time. You guys are in for a treat. Tom?
Before I get started, I'd like to thank Steve Baltich for making all this possible. His energy and his vision has created this opportunity for all of us. So thank you, Steve. And thanks also go to Donna and Keith Warner for helping Steve pull it all together. And there's probably others unknown to me that are also on that list of helping pull this thing all together. And thank you too. You know who you are. Okay, here's our schedule. The first 2 hours, I'm going to try to give you an idea of how reality works, what your place in it is, what it matters to you, how you become a part of it, and that will enable you to see your place in the larger system more clearly. And I'm going to do it also in terms of science, how it fits in to this reality. If it's just kind of out there but doesn't really connect to this reality, then it's not as real, it's not as serious a thing. So I'm going to connect it to physics, connect it to science, as well as to metaphysics. Then we're going to break for lunch. As Steve says, we have some lunch here, or you can go elsewhere if you want to. Then we're going to have 2 hours scheduled for questions and answers, topics of your choice. Short break, and then we're going to do some experiential exercises. And what that's going to be is I'm going to try to explain to you just how things like diagnosing, healing, remote viewing, seeing auras, that sort of thing. How does that work? What are the mechanics? What's really going on when you do that? And then we're going to do some of it. Okay, we're going to practice it a little bit just so you get a chance to apply the theory. Then we're supposed to end around 5:30. We're getting a bit of a late start, so lunch will probably be just a little late too. Everything's going to be shifted about 15 or 20 minutes. So we have an extra half hour on the end, so it shouldn't be a problem. We'll get through all of this. I'm going to have to go through the first 2 hours pretty quickly because in order to tell you everything that I think is important for you to know, it's tough to do that in 2 hours. So I'm going to try to talk fast. That's not my natural style, so I'm going to be pushing it, and you're going to probably have to focus on paying attention to stay with it. Hopefully I won't fatigue you. Okay, it's going to be a very brief skim over the top. There's not going to be able to derive anything logically. All the derivations you'll have to find in the books. Now, the books are free on Google, so you don't have to buy them. Also, the last 3-day workshop I did, which was a Friday evening, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. I'm hoping to have that available on Vimeo. It's a internet video. You'll be able to find how to get to that if you just go to my website, which is the www.mybigtoe.com. That'll give you a link how to go there. In probably 2 or 3 months, I'll have that up. So we probably won't be doing any more of the long, 2 and 3 day workshops because that one will be out there. It'll be free. You just have to go have enough interest to listen to something like 14 hours of workshop. So the slides are available on my website at the mybigtoe.com website. If you go to that website, on the front page you'll see a little link that'll say Hawaii slides. You can click on that and you'll have all the slides, so no need to try to copy any of the words. Now the slides are there mainly for the record, and if you can't see them well or you can't read all of it, don't worry about it. I will tell you everything you need to know. There's only a couple of slides that are really pictures that you need to look at. The rest of them are words. And like I say, the words are there for the record. So when you go back later, you can download the slides. It'll remind you of what was said and the order it was said in. So that's why they're so busy. Okay, the slides are busy to give you a record. All right, a little introduction and then we'll get on with it. Now and Always a Scientist is a very good description of me and the way I approach problems. In college, I majored in both physics and mathematics. Then I went to grad school and did thesis research in experimental nuclear physics. After that, took a job and have worked in the government and in NASA, off and on various jobs, various times for the last almost 40 years as an applied physicist. Okay, now applied physicists are a little different than theoretical physicists. Theoretical physicists mostly live in universities and do theory work. Applied physicists basically do the old physics and we make physics models. And that is, we develop computer simulations of real-world systems to see how those systems work. And primarily what I do, I'm a consultant, really, so what I did for NASA, that NASA contract is just ending. I've got a couple of DoD contracts just starting. I do risk analysis, which means I do mathematical models of large complex systems, see what can go wrong, what's at risk. Then if it does go wrong, what's the probability of it going wrong? Then how can you fix it to keep it from going wrong? And if you can't, how can you deal with it after it goes wrong? So it's basically, that's what I do in my other life. Okay. So what's a physicist doing here talking about consciousness and metaphysics and that sort of thing, as well as physics? Well, when I got out of graduate school, I very soon after leaving graduate school met Bob Monroe. I don't know if you know who Bob Monroe is. For those of you who don't, he's kind of Mr. Out-of-Body not just in the US, but in the world. He wrote a book called Journeys Out of the Body, followed by Far Journeys, followed by Ultimate Journeys. And Bob was a little different than others who had written about the subject. Before, it was called astral projection. Bob really coined the term out of the body because he didn't want all the emotional baggage that went with astral projection. There was a lot of theory and other things that went with it. And his books were just, here's what happened to me. It was just a journal of his experiences. Take it or leave it. He wasn't selling any position or making any theory. And that appealed to a lot of people. Still does. Well, myself and Dennis Menerick, who was an electrical engineer, we met Bob just at the time that Bob was putting together a laboratory for the study of consciousness. Bob put this together without really knowing what was going to happen there. He just knew that this is what the next step was. So he was building it. It's very much, build it and they will come kind of a concept. He was building it, and Dennis and I happened to be out on the deck of this laboratory, and with others, mostly all scientists and engineers. And Bob looked at us and said, well, hey, you guys are all science engineers. Any of you want to come here and work in my lab, help set up and build the equipment? The lab had nothing in it. This was just a building. And then do the experiments and so on. Well, I raised my hand in an instant. Yes, I'd love to do that, Bob, but I want you to teach me what you know about out-of-body, because if I'm not experiencing it myself, I won't understand it. It won't be real to me. I'll just be studying you, and I can't do real research that way if I don't really know what it's about. And then Dennis Menerick, he said the same thing. So Bob kind of considered it. We were young. Both of us were, 20s. Dennis was probably 30. I was probably 27 or 28. And he was looking for some more established scientists with reputations to lend to his cause and whatever. But he didn't get any of those. So he settled for us. And we started going out to the lab about 20 hours a week, spending time with Bob Monroe, building up equipment, soldering wires and that sort of thing. Then Bob would come up, we'd get in the booths, and he'd teach us about out-of-body. So that's how I got involved in this. And once you learn something about the larger reality and it becomes a real place for you, it's not something you walk away of and say, well, that was interesting, but I got to go on with my life. It's a part of you. It changes you. It makes you different than you were. So for the next 35 years, which brings us up almost to now, I was trying to figure out what this larger reality was. See, I'm a physicist, and that's what we do, is try to figure out how reality works. So I wanted to know, what was its causality? What could you do there? What couldn't you do there? What was this energy? I had done lots of experiments with Bob. We healed and we remote viewed and we did all this stuff. And we had tremendous statistics saying it was 1 in a million or 10 million that we could have gotten this information, by just guessing. So we knew it was real, but we wanted to find a way to understand it, and I wanted to find a way to turn it into theory and into science. And that was really Bob's ambition too. That's why he started this lab. He wanted it to be science.